Oh, hi. I'm just enjoying a drink from my local Starbucks store, crafted by hand specifically for Mike. I think they meant Mike, which means I grabbed the wrong drink because my name is Greg. I thought that tasted weird. Now, on the Starbucks subreddit, baristas attribute common cup misspellings to all sorts of things. It's loud in the store, they misheard you, and they just want to get you your damn drink. So they go with the most popular variety of your name's spelling. In our society, the name Ashley alone has more than a dozen different spelling options, but the internet reigns supreme in our lives. And because 500 Ranker users have voted ASHLEY as the most popular variant of Ashley, ASHLEY is the winner. Congrats, Ashley Olsen. And sorry, ASHLLEI. You rank dead last, and even Google thinks that you're a typo. Now, I don't think you're a typo. I think you're a beautiful person, but the internet doesn't lie. Anyway, Ashley, this little cup has been through a whole lot. This year marks the Pumpkin Spice Latte's 20th anniversary at Starbucks, which means the beverage itself has to contend with the pressures of social media.
So I saw my friend's Instagram story and she had one and the workday was kind of dragging. So I decided to go treat myself and get a pumpkin spice latte.
Pumpkin Spice Lattes are Starbucks' most popular seasonal beverage, with hundreds of millions of these things sold since its launch in 2003. But based on how beverages work, millions of sales translates to millions of cups. You see, a cup is a container for a beverage. You pour the liquid inside of this thing to keep it all in one place. Otherwise, the liquid would get all over the place and it'd be very hard to carry around. Oh, you don't need me to explain to you what a cup is because you've pretty much used one every day for your entire life? Sorry, Your Majesty. Anyway, disposable cups like these can produce lots of waste, like this extra cup I got just for making this video. And Starbucks is trying its star best to cut down on to-go vessels like these in order to help the environment.
We really want to get to, and we know we need to get to, a single-use cup that is either compostable or recyclable or move to a reusable cup.
That's Starbucks' head of sustainability, and the company has a pretty tall Grande Venti order printed out and stuck to its side. It wants to cut waste, water use, and carbon emissions in half by 2030. And part of that move is a goal of getting rid of paper cups entirely. That's because making disposable products like these creates greenhouse gas emissions, which warm the planet and create extreme weather events. And that's bad news for coffee drinkers. A study from last year found that climate change will directly threaten the global sustainability of the crop in all of its main producing regions by 2050. Beverages, of course, make up 61% of the revenue at stores of the largest coffee company in the world. So if coffee plants start drying up, you better hope there's a vinyl-like resurgence for Paul McCartney CDs at the checkout. But back to these things. They're called cups, and what they do— I'm sorry, I forgot, you already know what a cup is. Well, Starbucks is trying to make these things more sustainable, with the hopes of having them made out of 30% recycled material by 2025. But by 2030,
our holy grail is someday to have all reusable cups, whether that's a cup that the customer brings, their own personal cup, whether it's when they're sitting in the cafe, it's a ceramic mug that we serve the product in, or it's what we call our new borrow a cup.
Starbucks, of course, seems to be aware that not everyone's ready to waltz into the coffee shop with their personal Chinese spy balloon fan club mug. That's why they're trying out all sorts of reusable options, like at this store at Arizona State University in Phoenix. It's one of 2 pilot locations that doesn't offer disposable cups. At the checkout, there's a personal cup washing station. And if you're not a mug-carrying member of the Chinese Spy Balloon Fan Club, you'll instead be served a reusable plastic option via the Borrow a Cup program. Now, if you use your own cup or return a borrowed one, you'll get $1 off your next purchase. And if you're not near the store to return one, you can place your borrowed cup in a recycling bin somewhere on campus, and the university will wash the things and return them to the store. But what happens if the cup somehow gets damaged, thrown away, or otherwise becomes, say, less than a cup? Well, damaged, disgusting, and decrepit drink holders are still collected and get sent to a lab at the university, where they're shredded, melted down, and made into lumber-like pieces that turn into bins, which are the very same recycling bins that these cups are supposed to be placed in. That's about as close to the circle of life as you're gonna get, Kimba. Yes, Kimba, the white lion, that Japanese cartoon from the 1960s, whose style and plot lines bear a striking resemblance to that of Simba from that 1990s Disney film. Anyway, about that circle of life.
We know that if we can crack the code and figure out how to implement a reusable cup system everywhere and not have any more single-use disposable cups, everybody will follow and we can change the system.
Now, that Starbucks sustainability guy is right. With more than 37,000 stores in 86 countries, the sheer scale of Starbucks could prompt massive industry-wide changes if its zero disposable cup efforts are successful.
It's kind of like turning an aircraft carrier around. Like, you would think it's as companies this big are just not as nimble as you would like them to be, as nimble as they would like to be. It's just these supply chains, they probably have hundreds of suppliers directly and indirectly who are helping to manufacture a cup.
That's a lawyer who advises companies on how to develop climate-friendly operations.
And to change that whole value proposition all the way up the chain from, the people who are sourcing the fiber, in a Oregon forest, all the way down to, cracking ethylene to turn into plastic liners. Like, all of that balance requires a lot of input and a lot of organizational change and mind shift.
And this is becoming an important thing to consumers. According to a recent study by Nielsen IQ and the nerds at McKinsey, products that make environmental, social, and governance claims, nerds speak for stuff that's labeled eco-friendly and such, had a 28% growth rate over the past 5 years, compared to just 20% for products that don't make such claims. In English, the study says that sales growth among consumer goods like food, beverages, and cleaning products are being driven in part by claims about social and environmental responsibility. In clearer English, people are buying more stuff that's good for the environment. So, initiatives like Borrow a Cup can help change consumer behavior. Here's a consumer who's behaving.
If I'm ever given the choice between a sustainable company versus one that really doesn't care, I'll always choose the more sustainable company. Maybe 10 years ago, it might have been a PR issue, but in this day and age, we know enough about climate change to know that sustainable policy is just the future. It's not even something in the abstract anymore. It's just something we have to do and figure out how to do it.
This Starbucks barista at the company's innovation lab notes this is a long-term effort here with the cups. Again, a cup is, I'm sorry, I'm not doing this stupid bit again.
The goal isn't to think about how many are coming in today. The goal is to think about how many are going to come in 5 years after this process has become easier and more accessible for every person.
Now, I do want to be clear that this whole video you've been watching is not a commercial for Starbucks coffee. I don't even like the stuff. I order fresh beans online because, in my opinion, Starbucks coffee lacks some kind of key ingredient that produces something known as flavor. And it's worth pointing out that even with all these sustainability efforts, Starbucks has an uphill battle here. Back in 2008, the company said it wanted 25% of its cups to be reusable by 2015. But just last year, only 1.2% of sales went to reusable cups. And as this VP of Plastic Waste and Business at the World Wildlife Fund notes, environmental commitments like Starbucks's are significant, but they'll ultimately need additional support from our elected leaders.
We know that companies making these commitments, like Starbucks, that's a really important signal to send to the market, right? That they are doing those things, that they are going to be reducing their impact. But we also have seen over the past few years that these company commitments on their own are not enough to change the system. And so that's why we are really pushing for government engagement.
Of course, government engagement on disposable cups is a very human issue. One that's not necessarily on the mind of this Starbucks drive-thru customer.
Let me get started for you today.
Yes, I'd like a pup for my alpaca, please.
Absolutely. We'll see you at the window.
Thank you.
Yes, a woman recently brought her alpaca to a Starbucks for a pup cup, also known as a puppuccino. Reader's Digest reports this is a secret Starbucks menu item for dogs that's just lightly flavored whipped cream inside of a tiny cup. Vets say they're non-toxic to dogs, in moderation of course, and apparently alpacas enjoy them too. The woman, who runs a farm and animal sanctuary in Wisconsin, has racked up millions of TikTok views with this video. She says her teenage daughter had the idea for this drive-through TikTok, and she uses her animals to educate the public. So now you know, alpacas eat whipped cream. Hi, thank you for watching the News Refresh. We put out new news videos every single day of the week. Like and subscribe here on YouTube at the News Refresh. See you soon, enjoy, take care, and that's all. Goodbye.